Surprise, surprise, surprise. Well, so I know I haven't been making any videos lately, and my voice is just coming back. I'm supposed to be reading you those stories and all that other stuff. By the way, before I get into this, I do want to mention that I was supposed to have read you the finishing of the Cordwainer Smith in my time to read / Storytime playlist. So, I did such a lousy job at the first half of that. I just kind of like was wondering if I should even continue it. So I waited until I can get. Hopefully, I was going to get permission from a living author, David R. Grigg, for me to read some of his short stories. I showed you that book, The Riddling, and other short stories. So last Friday, the 10th, what's today? I was on the Unseen podcast with Paul Carr and all that, and David Grigg was supposed to be one of the panelists, and it turns out for whatever reason he couldn't show up. So I never got a chance to actually ask him permission. But in talking to the rest of the panelists about it, talking about copyright issues and all that stuff, one suggested that, there's Creative Commons, you can say the first, you can quote 60 words. Paul Carr, who is the creator and host of the Unseen podcast, who apparently is acquainted with him because he's the one that invites him, said that most cases, the writer would encourage something like that. So I gave it a couple days thought. My voice did come back, and I feel like I'm starting to lose it again. I hope I don't lose it before I decide to actually do it. So I decided I am not going to read the rest of the Cordwainer Smith's Game of Rat and Dragon. I figured I probably went beyond the so-called Creative Commons anyway. The author has been dead for decades, so not that it really matters much, although I'm sure there's family, grandkids, and stuff like that might care. So I would encourage you to look up the book. In fact, I think you can find it if you just Google Cordwainer Smith and the Game of Rat and Dragon. I'm pretty sure. In fact, I might even have it on my own computer. I should have looked before I opened up the book. I might have been able to read it easier. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. So I would encourage you to look it up and read the rest of the story, or read the whole thing for yourself. In the meantime, I'm probably going to give you excerpts of several, one or two or three of the stories out of the David R. Grigg science fiction short story book. So, with that said, and getting back to the original title of this video, The Magic the Gathering, my deck, my mono black Deathtouch deck. So I had some luck. I finally was able to test my couple of decks that I have. I never played once in my life, so I finally got a chance to play once in my life. I went to the game store and asked the guy if he would help me not only learn how to play this damn game, but how to help me out testing my deck. So I literally had him play the mono blue deck, which my nephew had helped me create, and I know it's a green box, but this is actually a mono white deck which I created, and we played them against each other. That was my lifelink deck that I mentioned to Agent Funeral. So with that success, I also had two other decks that I had built when I first started buying these cards, which were really frivolous, thrown together decks, and didn't have a whole lot of stuff yet, and there was too many singleton cards. So I came home a couple days later. Last night actually, I decided to dismantle my red-black deck, and I created out of it and some extras a mono black, and I got the red cards stashed away, and I'm thinking about creating a mono red deck. So first I got to test it out. I like to I'm still learning. I'm an old man learning a teenage game, so here it is. I can hear Desolator Magic in my head scolding me because he's the mathematician and he says, no, 60 cards. Not 61, not 63, 60 cards. There are 63 cards in all my decks. I'm a little weird that way. You know how 63 is divisible by 9, it's divisible by 7. 7 times 9 is 63. You know, 7 cards when you draw a card. You know, so I'm a little weird that way. So it turns out, for some strange reason, that 20 lands, these are just basic lands, every one of them, just 20 lands seems to work. Even though there's 20, I think, 1 creatures and 22 other stuff, instants, enchantments, or is it 22 creatures and 21? I think it's 21 and 22. So, okay, so you follow my pointer. This is only 1 because that's the only one I had. But the trick here is that Deathtouch, 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 and Deathtouch. There's another singleton right there. So I had a couple of singletons, but they seem to fit. So this one says, let me just read it. Oh, it's the Bone Picker. Yeah, I really don't like it, but it's got flying and Deathtouch. So, yeah, so I did it. So I put it on there. All right. I've got 3 of these. Ruin Rat. When Ruin Rat dies, exile target card from your opponent's graveyard. Deathtouch. So, all in all, I've got 3, 6, 7, looks like 8 cards with Deathtouch, or is it more? In any case, at the center of this is the one rare in the whole deck. I don't know if you can see that. I'm sure you know what card that is, but in case you don't. Torment of Hellfire. Okay. Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. I can't see in this light, but in any case. And that's a sorcery, and that's a rare. The only one I have, but it's kind of funny. X times. So I can pay as much mana as I can muster by paying X black. If I can pay, 3 extra mana, I can do this 3 times to my opponents. Maybe I even end up killing them. I can end the game with this card if I had the mana to do it. So there are various other instants and enchantments. Let me see, one of my favorites. Let me see. Destroy card target creatures, that sort of thing. Those are normal stuff. There was one in here that it was really funny. Enchant a player. At the beginning of the enchantment player's upkeep, of the enchanted player's upkeep, that player loses 3 life unless he or she sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. So again, I got 3 of those. That's Torment of Scarabs, and it's Torment of Venom, which is a bit different than Untamed Hunger. So essentially, it's a 63 card deck. I had originally 60 cards, but then I was going through my straightening out my box, and I realized that I had a couple of uncommons stashed away in the commons by accident. And they happened to be some black cards that were, in fact, let me see. It was, in fact, I think it was, yeah, it was these. I think I had one in the deck. Yeah, I had one of these in the deck, and I found another one. And I said, well, I hate to make a lone creature, so let's put the other one in there. So I ended up with sooner or later, and this has got Afflict. That's another thing. I'm looking for Afflict, Deathtouch, anything that spits at the opponent. It's Afflict 1, but nevertheless. So I found another one of those, and then I forgot what else. There was one other, and I ended up making it my lucky 63 number. So there it is. There you have it, my new black mono deck, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Watching an old man act like a teenager playing Magic the Gathering, and enjoy, subscribe, share, comment, etc., so forth and so on. Thank you for watching.